All right, well, welcome back to the ClassicLeague.com Gaming and Electronic Podcast, and I am very excited to welcome our next guest for our special interview portion today. We want to welcome Ben Haumiller, producer of NCAA Football 2013 from EA Sports. He's right here on the show. How you doing today, Ben?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate you making time for us. And I just want to start out by letting our fans get to know you a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your history in the gaming industry, and how long have you been working with EA Sports on the NCAA titles?
Yeah, sure thing. So I've been with EA Sports and at the Tiburon studio for about 11 years now. I started just fresh out of college, working as a tester on Madden 2001 PC, and never left, and kind of stayed in QA for a little while, and then that was kind of a jumping off point to learn the design side of things and the production side. And so I became a producer on NCAA 06 back on PS2 and the original Xbox, and been on the team ever since. And so college football is my passion, gaming is my passion, and so I was able to kind of marry the two of them and find a career out of it.
Well, that's fantastic, and Madden 2001 brings back some memories. So, yeah, I've been playing ever since the original John Madden football. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was one of those things I could never. If you would ask me when I was in college, like, oh yeah, when you're done, you're a major in sociology, you have a minor in communications, but you're gonna be working in video games. I never would have believed it. So. Kind of one of those things where the timing was right, and now you have you can actually get a degree in game design. We've got guys with master's degrees in game design. I just happen to be at that right place, right time, where I could go the QA route and kind of learn the ropes that way.
Well, that's fantastic, and from what I hear, the best way to learn is from hands-on experience. So
totally.
That's good.
Yeah, I would not have traded any of that experience for the world. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. And I want to jump right in and talk a little bit about NCAA 13. Obviously, we're less than 2 weeks away from the July 10th release. We're really excited about it on the show. I know that every year people get hyped up for the new football releases, and I'm sure you guys share some of that excitement as well. And last year's title, I remember playing it, and there were a lot of upgrades to the immersion part of the game. There were new celebrations, intros, and a lot more to really make you feel immersed in the experience. So how did you sit down with this year's team and start on NCAA 13 and really make the game even feel more immersive? Because I think that's what everyone is excited about, is how immersed you can get into the college football experience.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of different ways you can go about that approach of trying to sell that immersion and try and make it really feel like you're a part of the game. And so, one way that we attacked it this year was with the crowd noise and really getting a much, more realistic and louder crowd mix into the game. And so you hear those, really loud roars of the crowd, and you hear those oohs and those ahs and everything else that you would hear in a stadium during a Saturday in a much better mix than we've ever had before. So it sounds a lot more dynamic. But I think as far as the immersion portion goes, we didn't quite go so far into the pregame traditions and runouts this year, but in Dynasty mode, the inclusion of Reese Davis to do studio updates and also the bottom line ticker really give you that immersion that you're a part of a bigger college football world that's going on, and all these other games are going on around you, and you're able to kind of consume, a game as you do a real life game on a Saturday. So you've got that bottom line running at all times, giving you updates from scores from around the country, and letting you know when there's a priority score alert or an upset watch or a final score alert, and all those things are happening around you, so you're keeping up with these scores. And then we'll break into the course of your game. We'll break in with studio updates from Reese Davis, where he gives you some more of those updates and kind of gives you a little more information about what's going on in those other games. And so, they're revealed to you based on the time of day of when your game is being played. So if you're playing a 3:30 game, for example, the noon games are basically done by the time you're kicking off, so you're getting some final score alerts from those games when you start out. And then as your game is going on, the other 3:30 games are being played. And so you're getting those scores in progress. And then when you're about done with your game, when you're finishing up, that's when some of the late games are starting to kick off. So you're getting maybe some of the first scores of those. So you're really getting that snapshot feel of how that college football experience and how that day is playing out. And you're finding out these upsets that are happening that in the past we never had these updates during the course of the game. So you would have to advance the week and then go back and find out what were the big upsets, what were the big things that changed. Now you're getting them through the course of the game, And it really is, we're kind of talking about that immersion thing. It really does make you feel like you're watching a game that's going on, being broadcast by ESPN with all these other games going around you. As you're a part of this big college football universe.
That's fantastic. I think as our technology continues to become more connected, and people love their game day experiences on Saturday and getting together with friends, and I love that idea, that focus you had on immersing people in connectivity to the real college football world, and I think that's a great approach. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that's the goal, right? Is to make it feel like you are experiencing a college football world, and the only difference that you can tell is that you're manipulating it. You're the one with a control in your hand. You're not just with a control, with controlling the play, not just watching a game happen. So, as you get more and more of the ESPN integration and all these different things, it kind of blurs that line of reality even more.
That's outstanding. And I want to talk for just a moment about moving on, just a little bit about gameplay tweaks this year. And we've read the EA Sports website, we've seen the previews, we've played the demo, and the big improvements have really come in the areas of passing, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So tell us a little bit about the total control passing system, and then fill us in on the new pass defense as well.
Yeah, sure thing. So, when you come in each year and you're kind of figuring out what you're going to do for the year, there's always things you can do to every aspect of the game. You can update things in the passing game, in the running game, defensively, special teams, all those sort of things. So you got to try and really figure out what's the key thing you want to target this year. And for us, it came down to the passing game and came down to, how can we really kind of make that passing game experience more enjoyable and kind of take out some of the things that might have been frustrating people in the past. And so with that, it starts out, at the very beginning of the play with just something as simple as the drop backs. We've got 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drops, 1-step drops for bubble screens, regular screen drops where the quarterback will do his drop and then kind of trail off as he sucks the defense in to throw that screen pass. And so every play has a specific drop that's associated with it based on the receiver's routes. And so that's the next step of it is, having those receivers and tying up the drop back with those receivers' routes, and then kind of teaching people when is the appropriate time to throw each pass and what for each route. And so you'll actually see the receivers' icons illuminate once they're looking for a pass. And so a comeback is a great example. A comeback route, the receiver's trying to sell a streak at first, but then out of nowhere he's just going to stop and turn back and try to fake the defender out. And so at the start of that route, that the icon is going to be dimmed out, and it's not going to be very, visible, letting you know he's trying to run his route, but he's not looking for a pass hit. So if you throw it to him, he might not be looking, he might not try to catch it. But as soon as, right before he goes to make that break to come back, that light's going to pop on for that icon and let you know, hey, this route is ready to be thrown to. And so that's going to be timed up with the drop back to where that quarterback, once he's hitting that back foot and planting on his last step in the drop back, that's when that icon's going to come up, and that's going to kind of teach you the timing of when to throw. And so once you've got that part, it's now the actual pass being in the air. So we've added over 20 new passing trajectories to get all those different kind of intermediate touch passes and all those things that, you could really make you feel like you can make any throw now. And you can also, utilizing the left stick, it's kind of a term of throwing the receiver open. If you can see a spot in the defense where you want to put that ball and place it on a lob right over the linebacker, or you see that hole in that zone and you want to thread the needle and get the ball right there, you feel like you have that control to not just lead the receiver, but really kind of push him to a direction of, like, I want you to go here to catch the pass. And so you can utilize the left stick to really, feel like you're in total control of the passing from the very beginning through the end. So you've got all those elements kind of wrapped together, and a lot of different, smaller portions of it too. The ability to, abandon a play action in mid-animation. So if you see that defender rushing in, you don't have to go through the entire handoff animation. You can just tap the right trigger, and that will break you out of that. And you'll be able to run and scramble away and kind of, salvage the play and be able to make something happen. Brand new throw on the run animation to where your receiver doesn't have to plant his feet anymore. He can throw on the run and complete those passes just like you would see, the athletic quarterbacks do on Saturdays. And so all those different kind of aspects tying together for a total control passing system. And then on that end too with the wide receivers, since we've done all of that work for throwing the pass, we wanted to do a lot of work on their catching side. So there's over 430 new catch animations that have been added to the game to give you a lot of different variety for how a receiver's going to catch that pass. Now that the ball's coming in from so many different angles and trajectories, we wanted to make sure that we had catches that can play in every conceivable position. So you see a lot of different changes there. So that's the offensive side of breakdown. But defensively, it really comes down to the new read and react defensive AI system, which is essentially kind of a nice way of saying the defenders need to look at the ball to be able to make a play on it. And it kind of just sounds funny to say, but when you're dealing with AI and dealing with a game, that's something that you have to put in to make sure that it happens, because what you've seen in the past was you might be trying to lob a ball over a linebacker, and they kind of have earned the name over the years of super linebackers, or a defensive back might break on the ball without ever actually looking to see that the pass was thrown. So they got the names of psychic DBs, and these were things that led to frustrations for our gamers because they felt they were doing everything right, but yet all of a sudden the linebacker, without ever looking back, just jumped up and swatted the ball down, or a safety just made an unbelievable break on a ball that he wasn't even looking at. He was over covering a different receiver and just happened to unrealistically turn as soon as the ball was thrown and break on it and make a play.
Yeah.
And so those were things that were kind of frustrating for us. So we broke that down to where there's procedural awareness for the defenders, where they have to, there's really good eye tracking and head tracking now to where they're looking at the ball, and that's how they can make the play. So you can, you won't see a receiver jump a route without him looking at it first, and you won't see the linebacker all of a sudden jump up and swat the ball down unless he happens to be looking back and being able to see the ball to make the play on it. So it adds that touch of realism there, and like we're kind of saying, that immersion, that's the other part to it. For the immersion is when something unrealistic happens, it snaps you out of that immersion immediately.
Yep.
So this is something that cleaning up those issues and taking them out of the game keeps you kind of in that theater of the mind immersion kind of feel that you're not seeing something that reminds you instantly, oh, I'm just playing a game. You kind of get bought into that whole feel. And so another addition on defensive side is defensive alignment, your ability to mask what you're doing defensively. In the past and for years, all you need to do on offense was just send a receiver from one side to the other to know if the team was in man or in zone, and you watch and see, do they have a defender on the other side trailing across with me? We've added things like bump coverage in now to where if you're watching in coach cam as that player is running across the field, you'll see the defensive alignment shift from player to player to player as the zone responsibilities are shifting from one guy to the next as that guy moves across. So he might look like he's in man to the offense because the guy's running from one side of the field. All the zones are still accounted for because they're being shifted over to the other guys that are remaining on that portion of the field, and you can see the assignment shift down the line as you're moving across. And so kind of adds to that chess game because now you can kind of mask and hide what you're doing, and just a lot of great improvements that way to really add to the feel of the game.
Yeah, and I love how the decision to not only revamp the passing system, but also revamp the pass defense, because I think it's critical. I mean, usually in a football game, we expect one major gameplay change, a year, and so I like that you focused on both sides of the ball, because I think I remember those linebackers jumping up for an interception out of nowhere, and it seems like they were leaping, 15 feet in the air, and how frustrating that was. So, big improvement.
We doubled down on the. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say we doubled down on the number of people we have working on our central gameplay team for both NCAA and Madden, and so with that, you're seeing a lot more, improvements done to gameplay in a given year than we've been able to do before.
Yeah, well, that's great. I can't wait to try that out in the final version for sure. So, all right, well, Ben, we know there's been a lot of cool improvements to Dynasty Mode as well as Road to Glory Mode. But for my last question, what I'm really interested in is the new Heisman Challenge Mode. And so I was reading a lot about it, and it seems that it gives you the chance to play as former Heisman greats. I think there's going to be 10 former greats included with the retail release, and then you'll be able to purchase 6 more through downloadable content. And so tell us a little bit about the decision to put former Heisman winners into the game, and fill us in a bit more on the features of the Heisman Challenge Mode.
Yeah, sure thing. So, we have 10 guys that are available on the retail disc, and then 3 more you can unlock through playing the demo, and 3 more that are a GameStop pre-order that will be available later through the DLC if you didn't pre-order through GameStop. But for us, college football is a very unique, and college sports in general are very unique as far as the gaming world goes, in that these are amateur athletes and guys that we don't have the rights to, their likeness or to be able to utilize real players in our game. And so, in Madden, they have, Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady and all these marketable, great names. For us, we've got QB number 8, and we've got wide receiver number 80, and we've got, just faceless kind of fake entities in our game. So with us, we've never had those real identifiable players. We've never had that angle. We never had that kind of experience of what it's like to play as someone that who they are. So, for us, we've never had, going back to cover athletes, talking about cover athletes, we've never had a cover athlete that's been an actual player in our game. And so this year, RG3 and Barry Sanders are both our cover guys. They're actual players in the game. You can actually be them. Every time we've had a cover guy in before, RG3 any other year would be talking about getting ready for the NFL and talking about, everything post-college and not being involved in the game itself. So for us, it gave us a chance to have that player identity in the game. And so we wanted to give you the ability in the mode to kind of experience what it's like to be one of the all-time greatest of college football. And so we did that by setting it up so you can take any of these 16 guys and put them on any team in the country and try to win the 2012 Heisman Trophy with them. So you can take the 1988 version of Barry Sanders or the 84 version of Doug Flutie or the 93 version of Charlie Ward, put them on any team and see what that team would be like if they had one of these all-time greats playing for them, and what you can do on one of these new teams. So, what would Doug look like playing in a spread offense? How much more fun would he have? Or how much different of a quarterback could he be if he played in that spread? And so, we wanted to go out and kind of tell you the story of all these guys. So we went out and interviewed all 16 players and had them tell you their story. So you'll hear, the guys talk about why they chose the school they did, or, maybe they might tell a story about if they were coming into college right now from high school, where would they go? Would they go to the same school they did, or what kind of offense really excites them and maybe would make a change of where they would go? You hear them tell stories about their defining Heisman moments, or, playing against a rival and some of their favorite rivalry memories, or, when you win the Heisman with them, that moment of when they heard their name called, what was that experience like? How did that feel? And so you get to these guys to tell you the story in their own words, and it's really kind of interesting and fun and great as a college football fan to hear this history talked about, and to maybe teach some of our younger players who might not know these guys a little bit about the history of what made them so great. I kind of laugh when I think about it, but there's a number of kids that don't know Desmond Howard as anything other than the guy who's on game day on every Saturday morning. They don't know about what he did during his days at Michigan, and so you get all the history there, kind of teaching the players about this past and these stories, what made these guys so great. And so we've got the great players and the great historical seasons, and you're trying to match what they did in their historical seasons along, while you try to win the current Heisman Trophy. But we wanted to give you a feel of what it's like to be one of these all-time greats. And so we added a new gameplay mechanic called reaction time, which allows you during the course of a play to basically slow down time, to really slow things down, to give you as a quarterback the ability to survey the field and see the routes develop and read the coverage and decide where you want to throw the ball. Or if you're running back, coming up to a defender, if you're Barry Sanders, do I juke right or do I juke left or do I spin or what do I do? What move do I put on this defender to get around him? Those sort of things that Barry did instinctively, or these guys did at just a split-second decisions. You have the time to really slow the game down and process all of that and decide what you want to do. And it gives you a feeling of, being more powerful in the game than you ever had before. You get a feeling of what it was like to be a guy like Marcus Allen, the first ever 2,000-yard rusher in college football history. You get a chance to really kind of feel what it's like to be that powerful and that great. And, it's an experience we've never had before in the game, from, being a real person and also being this great of a real player. It gives you a whole different dynamic than we've ever had before.
Well, that's amazing, and I've always appreciated. I always love when the sports games have challenges from previous historic seasons included. So I'm really excited to play the Heisman Challenge Mode. So I'm pumped that you guys included that. So And I do want to argue with you that when Bill Walsh was on the cover of Bill Walsh's College Football back in the day, he was in the game. So, no, just kidding.
Okay, no, you got me there. You got me on that one.
I'm just playing with you. So, all right. Well, Thank you so much, Ben, for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Ben Haumiller, once again, producer of NCAA Football 13 from EA Sports, and we're just excited to have you on. Thanks again, man, and we look forward to playing the final version of the game.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, you can go out and download the demo now, and July 10th, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. That's when we'll be out there and ready to go.
It's going to be awesome. So,